Now we bring in all 7 stones, and for this part we give each one a meaning. And it may not come as a surprise, but we're going to relate each of the stones to one of the principles. So we start off with white, representing Ike, the first principle, and the keyword concept of awareness. We bring in red for Kala. There are no limits, with the keyword of freedom. Orange for Makia. Energy flows where attention goes, and the keyword of focus. Yellow for Manawa. Now is the moment of power, and the keyword of either presence or persistence. Green for Aloha. To love is to be happy with the keyword of love. Blue for Mana. All power comes from within, with the keyword of confidence. And Pono. Effectiveness is the measure of truth, with the keyword of flexibility, because you want to do whatever is appropriate and effective. So what we're going to do with these stones now is ask questions that have to do with advice, because sometimes it's not yes or no that we need, but what do I do now? So if we have such a question, for instance, let's go back to the one that we're working with as a yes-no. Say, okay, I want a great relationship. I changed that pattern, but now what's the most important thing for me to do to prepare myself in order to have that great relationship? Now, of course, the stones are relating this to me, and you may get a totally different answer. And so I'll say I'll apply this to a great relationship with someone with whom I can discuss philosophy and shamanism in depth. Okay? So yeah, that's a kind of relationship that I would like to have. Someone that I can really talk about the deepest aspects of this knowledge and tradition with. So what can I change, or what can I do in order to bring this kind of relationship into my life? I start with Pico Pico. I form that question in my mind very clearly. What can I do to bring such a relationship into my life? I shake the stones, and I toss them out. Now, what we see in all the stones over here except this one, so close it's touching. And the one that's touching the white, which means it's very important, is the second principle, which is Kala. There are no limits. And freedom is the key word. In this case, what it seems to be telling me is that I have some limited thinking about there being such a person. So what I have to do is free up my thinking about that to open myself to such a relationship, to give myself the idea that it's possible as well as good to allow it into my life. It's freedom that I have to develop. Freedom from the doubts, the fears, the limiting kind of thoughts that I might have in regard to this relationship. Now, let's just do something else here to show you. Let's suppose that I had gotten a different answer. Let's suppose that I had gotten an answer that had the orange stone. In this case, the answer would have been, I've got to focus on it more. Okay? I haven't been focusing on it. I haven't even had it in my mind as a strong enough idea, so what I have to do is focus more. Let's suppose that the answer had been the yellow stone. Right? Now is the moment of power. Well, what I've got to do is persist in looking for such a person. I might be focusing, but I've got to take some action in the present moment. Maybe start talking about shamanism in greater depth when I meet people. That could be the answer relating to this one. Okay? Let's suppose that the answer I had gotten would have been green. Right? And here, this has to do with love, in that case also motivation. So here I would start to think, well, how much do I want this kind of a relationship? And so I would increase my desire for it, or increase my love of that kind of conversation. And that would be the thing for me to do, if this had been the answer that I received. And if I had received the blue stone as an answer, then I might have said, well, I've got to believe in it. My confidence has not been great enough. So I've got to increase my belief, perhaps through affirmation, visualization, acting out, whatever it might be, but confidence is what I would need to increase. And if my answer had been the purple stone, then it would have been, because that represents flexibility, then maybe I've got to be flexible about the kind of person and the kind of things we talk about. So maybe I'd want to expand the range of topics so that there would be something that this other person might be even more interested in that I could share with them, and not limit it so much. So that's a possibility. Be more flexible in what I want, or in my approach to getting what I want. So those are ideas. Remember, the actual answer I got was this one. But if I had gotten any of those others, you could also interpret them in terms of the meaning of the principle or the meaning of the keyword. And that's casting for advice.